If you've been watching my channel for a bit now, you know that I have been pretty open, well, as open as one can be for an interior design channel, about mental health. About 2 years ago, I did a video called Your Home is Sad and This Is Why. And then about a year ago, I did a video called This Is How Your Home Can Cure Your Depression. I personally feel as though your home and your mental health, there's a great connection there, and there's a lot you can do to your home or within your home to help with anything mental health related. And as you can tell by the title of this video, we're taking a little pivot to talk about grief, growth, and change, and how you can design or do things to your home to help those things, because there is quite a bit you can do. And honestly, when you're going through something like a death or a huge change in your life, aren't you really kind of grasping for anything to make you feel better? And for me, from certain things that I've been through, I rely heavily on my home, the things in my home, what I'm doing to my home, what I'm doing within my home, to help me pull through those times. Because let's be honest, we spend a lot of time in our homes, and we spend even more time in our homes when we're going through shit. So here we are, how to design your home for grief, growth, and change. From me to you, from my experiences to yours, from my home to your home. I've gone through a few different levels of grief and change throughout my life. Two of the most prominent things that I have gone through is, one, my best friend from high school, Emma, died unexpectedly my freshman year summer of college. And so I was a little young / not young to understand what grief was. But that was a whole thing that I ended up processing even years later. And then my other big experience of giant change in my life, which I've talked about before, is my breakup with my ex-boyfriend, which sounds kind of silly to talk about, being like, I'm going through a breakup. But breakups are grief, especially when you have someone in your life for a really long time and it ended in a really nice way. It was just more sad and tragic. After my breakup, I moved from Chicago to Los Angeles, where I started doing these home updates on my YouTube channel, where I am showing all of the things I am doing to my home. And I don't know if I talked about it at the time. I don't think I did. I didn't tell everyone I was going through a really hard breakup. But if you look back at those videos, I see certain things that I'm doing or certain decisions that I'm making that kind of correlate with the grief I was going through, which is interesting. So anyways, that's kind of my backstory of shit that I've gone through. And now I feel like I have pulled together so many useful ideas and tips for you all for when you're going through something and how your home can help you. So here you are. If you trust me, I will tell you things. First off, comfort becomes priority over everything. Your design aesthetics can somewhat go out the window for comfort. For example, if you need to have a giant fuzzy weighted blanket draped over your bed for 6 months, go ahead and do it. Honestly, continue doing it if that's what you want. But design-wise, you don't need to think about it. Just have the blanket there. Don't put it away every day. Just have it ready for good use. Another example would be having a good bath station. I did this. I had like a little stool that had my iPad. It had certain, things that I would use in the bath. And I don't love to have clutter out in my bathroom, but during this time, I was like, I have to have this because I'm taking a bath every night. So if you have certain things that you want out or you need, and it's a necessity for what you're going through, just click it out of your brain that it doesn't look that good, but that's what you need. Your mental health is the most important. So comfort over everything. If you're anything like me, furniture or items that we purchased together, whether it's someone who passed away or someone that has to leave your life. Maybe you're grieving a friendship. Sometimes having those physical objects in front of you every day can be painful. And I think it's important to sometimes store away some of those objects, and some of them can stay out. It really just depends on what you're comfortable with. When my ex and I broke up, there were a few items of his that I didn't want to get rid of because they are sentimental to me, but I also was like, I can't have this out in my house. Like, that's weird. Like, this is my ex's stuff. So I put it away for a while, and now that I have moved past this, I have been able to bring out some of these objects and look at them in a more fond manner. I can look at them and think of nice things. And same with my friend who died. I years later have been able to, wear something of hers or have something of hers out. I have like a necklace that I'll wear, or a ring, and it doesn't make me so sad. But during the process, I think it's pretty important to store some stuff away. It doesn't mean you're shoving away this person or the memory of this person forever. It just means, hey, I gotta, get through some stuff, and then you can come back, and hopefully when you look at that object, it brings back a nicer memory. With that being said, I think it's important to bring back items of independence of yours that maybe you didn't have out when this person was around, or maybe they didn't like this certain art piece of yours, and it's kind of funny to be like, haha, suck it, I'm putting this out now. And just bringing back anything that reflects your own individuality and your independence, and stuff that makes you happy, that has no attachment to anyone or anything, is very important. Nostalgia is also known to boost serotonin. I love listening to music that is from my childhood or reminds me of a time, because it will definitely boost or like do something to my brain that makes me feel good. But sometimes nostalgia can make you feel extremely sad. So it's kind of finding that balance of having the nostalgia in certain touches. Sometimes it's nice to not have something that's like right on the nose. Instead of having a photo of your grandmother who maybe passed away on, a side table, maybe hold off on some direct nostalgia hits, and instead maybe have, her perfume sitting on your vanity, or something that reminds you of her, instead of seeing direct nostalgic references, if that makes sense. So kind of give or take on what you mentally can hold. And sometimes that means nothing. And sometimes that means nothing. And that was me for sure. I was like, I can't have anything that reminds me of this person. Just taking it day by day, waking up and seeing what you feel. This is actually a pretty good transition into my next point, that this is the one time in your life, if you're not a minimalist, to become a minimalist. I think when you're going through something difficult, the less stuff you have to take care of, the better. Sometimes if you build up too much clutter, you might not have the energy to clean it, and things start to build up and whatnot. So keeping things as minimal as possible during a time of grief, I think, is key. Obviously, you want to have comfort items around you, and you don't want to feel like you're in a bare room, but I would say it's not the time to become a maximalist. I mean, unless you really want to, but for me, it was one last thing to check off my plate if I had less things that I had to take care of. For example, I got no plants. I still have no plants, honestly, but I didn't get a single plant when I moved out here, because I was like, I can't take care of another thing when I need to take care of my mental health. So no plants for me. And I kept things pretty minimal in my house for a while. I wouldn't say I'm a full-on maximalist. I would say I'm a pretty organized, I'm not a minimalist. I'm somewhere in there. But yeah, the less things you have to take care of. Also, my dog died after my breakup too. And I obviously want another dog. I've been wanting another dog since I'm a big doggy person, but I can't take care of another thing. I have to take care of myself. So no plants, no dogs, keep it minimal. Unless you want to, however, this is just me. Sometimes taking care of something can help. But for me, I only had energy to take care of myself. Hi. Welcome to my bedroom, and I thought this would be a good time to take a little break to talk about today's sponsor, Shinola. While Shinola is generally known for their watches, high quality, good craftsmanship watches, they've expanded into bags and home goods. They even have these really cool outlet things that I've mentioned before. And one thing you can definitely trust Shinola for is the quality. This is the Shinola Runwell Messenger Bag. I received it a few days ago and I've used it every day since. The material is made from navigator leather and it has a little magnet right here. So easy to open, good organization on the inside. As you can tell, I already have my pens and whatnot, even a little space for my disposable. Let me take a photo of you. It also holds up to a 15-inch laptop, which is ideal because this is what I'm using this for, business. They also have a hotel in Detroit, which I really have been wanting to check out because I haven't been back to Detroit since maybe seeing the Proto Martyr concert back in college, but I've been wanting to go to the hotel. So if you've been there, let me know how that is. It looks stunning. Shinola is great quality and pretty timeless. Honestly, worth the investment. Great quality, lasts forever. You'll pass it on to your children. Head to the link in my description to check out all of Shinola's products. Again, this is the Runwell bag. I love it. It's my everyday bag now. And thanks again, Shinola, for sponsoring this video. I'm actually going to run a few errands in my bag. So back to the video. Art is one of the most important investments you can make, I think, in your lifetime. When decorating your home, you could have a very simple room and add in a really cool art piece and it will evoke a feeling inside of you regardless of the rest of the room. Art is so important in your home and interior design and the way you feel. Waking up to art pieces that I love is extremely important. I spent so much time over the past few years investing in my friends' art or vintage art or custom framed art because having art that makes you feel something good will be so helpful. It's always those little things that can be pretty substantial in your growth. So if you see a piece of art that brings back a memory that's a little too hard to process right now, switch it out. Find an art piece that maybe has no relation to it to replace it. For example, this piece. I really like this piece, but I don't have any backstory behind it. I like to look at it, but there's no backstory. So sometimes switching out your art during a period of growth or change is very helpful. And again, just remember that nothing is permanent. So if you love a piece of art that's above your fireplace, but it's just too much to look at on a daily basis, switch it out for now and replace it with something that makes you feel happy. It doesn't mean you have to invest in something crazy, just anything that makes you feel good. Switching out your art and art is extremely important. The sun. I feel like I definitely talked about lighting in my video. This is why your home is making you depressed, or how your home can cure your depression or whatever. I talk a lot about lighting. On top of, the few things that I have talked about of things that I have gone through with grief and change, I also have gone through quite a mental health journey outside of those things, just general mental health. Like there's no rhyme or reason. It's just an imbalance in my brain that I had to get medicated for. And while all of the things I've listed so far are helpful for that, one of the main things with really all of this is the sun. Now, we all know we can't have the sun 24/7. There's gloomy days. I live in Los Angeles and there's still gloomy days. So you have to bring the sun inside. You have to get some type of lamp that mimics the sun, the sky. I have a paper lantern thing in my bedroom, which has been so helpful for my mental health. You could get a salt lamp. You could get anything that gives that glow. And I'm not saying all of these tips are going to immediately make you feel better. Is a lantern with a warm bulb going to, speed up your grieving process? No, but it really will help. All of these little things will help. And when you're going through shit, it's really just those small steps end up adding up to help you get through that particular wave. Because when you're grieving or going through change, that's kind of how I would describe it, is going through waves. So, the waves are every hour, every minute of the day when it first happens. And then soon the waves hit you every other day. And then it's every other week. And then you're like, wow, I haven't cried in a few weeks, and then something happens and you're right back to the feeling that you began with. That wave passes. And yeah, I would just describe it all in waves. So when you're in the wave of grief, what are the small things that you have already set up for yourself to help you reach the calm? And I don't know, a good sunlight is helpful. And now is the time to spend a little extra money on the little things. I saw this stat on TikTok, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but it's basically saying that you can spend money on a coffee every morning if it's below 2% of your income. I forget what the stat is, but basically saying you're not going to save a bunch of money by cutting back on really small things that usually you're purchasing for pleasure. So this is definitely the time to not think about that. You should spend that little extra money on small things that can help boost your happiness. For example, flowers. I have flowers in my house every single week because they help my brain. Whether I am buying them from the local farmer's market, I get a lot of my flowers from Trader Joe's, and sometimes I just forage them if it feels okay, because I just want a little happiness in a vase. Please and thank you. So buy those flowers. Honestly, buy lemons and limes and fruits and vegetables and have them out on your counter. And it's nice to have all of that around. It just makes your space feel like a home. So don't be, stingy on splurging on those little things. Buy those, extra candles, buy the extra florals, the branches, the food, and just allow yourself to indulge in that stuff, because it's not like you're splurging on anything crazy. It's just small things, and those investments into your mental health are kind of the most important. Another little thing I do for my mental health is putting things, notes, inspiration inside of a cabinet. I don't necessarily want all of my motivational quotes to be, on my fridge for people to see. I like when they are hidden. I have quite a few quotes and items inside my medicine cabinet mirror in my bathroom. If you don't have a medicine cabinet, you could put it inside, your pantry cabinet, or any cabinet that you're just like, I guess I would open this sometimes. No one else will really go in here. Even though I did have a guy over once, and I know he went into my medicine cabinet because he was like, he said something about one of the lyrics I had inside of there. And I was like, I didn't say anything, but I was like, you went in my medicine cabinet. But anyways, hide quotes and items like that you need to read on a daily basis. Sometimes you need to reread things over and over and over again, but you don't want them thrown in your face, and you don't want them out for others to see. Put them inside a cabinet, and it's very, very helpful. I've been doing this for a long time. My My dad always had the lyrics, "These Are the Days" by 10,000 Maniacs on his bathroom mirror. And now I have that. That's one of the things inside of my medicine cabinets. So decorate the inside of a cabinet to motivate yourself. Okay, and my last two pieces of advice are probably my top guys, my top girls. One being, you are now spending more time in your home. Let's be honest. I mean, unless you grieve in a different way, I spent a lot of time in my home. One, I wasn't living with a partner anymore, so I was, living on my own. But two, I didn't always have the social battery or the motivation or the energy to go do shit. So instead of sitting in my house and watching TV, which I did a lot of, for sure, I kind of threw myself into doing projects around my house. That's kind of where all the home updates came from. And it's funny because a lot of you will comment on those updates and be like, you're changing your house a bunch. Like, you're doing this, whatever. And I guess at the time I didn't want to say, I'm, trying to keep myself busy while I'm going through shit. But what better way to keep yourself busy than doing home projects? You're already in your house. You could pick up any type of project, obviously, but if you like interior design like me, you could paint a bedroom. That's like a whole weekend project right there. Throw on some music. When Kate went through her breakup, we went over, me, Lindy, and Kate went over and painted her bedroom. We put on music. It was such a good time. You could do it with friends. You could do it yourself. But redoing a space just by painting is very cost effective. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And sometimes a little change in your bedroom is so helpful. It's also nice to take on projects outside. You could redo your back little patio. You could plant some new things. You could plant an herb garden. I did that and then I didn't take care of it because I was depressed. Take on home projects. Not only is it going to be helpful in the sense that you don't have to go outside, you don't have to be social, but you're also doing something good for your mental health. You're changing up your space. You're making it feel new. Sometimes you just need a little refresh. And that brings me to my last point of don't be hard on yourself for the decisions you make while you're grief decorating. Is that like a term? Grief decorating. A lot of the decisions you make might be bad. I look back on some of the things that I purchased or did, and I'm like, what? That's so wild that my brain wanted to do that. For example, when Kate went through a breakup, she bought this dresser, and we call it breakup dresser because, now that she's a little bit out of it, she's like, why did I purchase that dresser kind of thing? But that's what you have to do in those times. Make those changes, do those purchases. It's also such a good point of growth that you can look at. Sometimes when I look back at my breakup decisions, my breakup design decisions, I like to know that I've moved out of it. It's kind of a nice little time stamp. And at the end of the day, everything can be sold. You can take a little cut, and it's all worth it when you're really just trying to pull through money and decisions and the changes you make while going through something. In the end, you're just trying to survive. So don't be hard on yourself for anything that you do during that time. And I think overall, if you're watching this video or watching my channel, you have a general interest in interior design or taking care of your home or decorating your home. I think that it's just such a unique and special area to throw yourself into when going through something. I remember after my breakup, I did a year of traveling, and during that year, I really realized how much time I work on my house for fun as my hobby. So when I didn't have a home, when I had nothing to do, I was a little lost, to be honest. And it really made me appreciate when I got a home because I realized how much I poured myself into decorating and making my space feel good so I could feel good. So if you're anything like me, give these tips a try. Or even if you don't like interior design that much, you could try these out, and you might be pleasantly surprised that you might draw an interest in things like this when you're going through stuff, because investing in yourself is kind of, similar to investing in your home. There's definitely a correlation there. So that's that. Another mental health video for you all. I hope this was helpful. Please leave any other, tips down below for anyone who might be going through anything. Life is fucking hard. That's what we like to say. Me and my sister, we say, hey, did you ever know life was going to be this hard? And it's like, no, we didn't, Just so naive as kids. And then you become an adult and you're like, fuck, life is fucking hard. So if there's anything I can help with, it's making your home feel better. So that's it. Goodbye. It's getting kind of hot for a sweater out here. But let me know your thoughts. Love you all. Goodbye.